Good day, everybody, all the participants of our marathon for the benefit of the world, especially for people. This is really right now that they went into a good phase of their life. Mm. In Russia, the workday has started. A lot of people are going outside. They're coming out of the court, their homes and their apartments. They're feeling a bit of freedom, and it's very important to not become to not to be not too careful, that you don't become careless. So for these people, we're continuing this marathon. Be concentrated. Be careful. This marathon is continuing. We're reading the Holy Scriptures. We're in the material world, the world of viruses. The worst viruses, the scariest viruses are in our minds, and we can get over them from the mercy of the doctors. But we need to also take care of ourselves. But the worst virus is the one that we have, that we think of where a specific nationality, race, or something like that. But we cannot become healthy from this virus after thousands of lives. To of birth, death, old age, and disease, and suffering from this, and we can't change from this. This endless cycle of birth and death. This is a disease. The soul is eternal. The soul is always in a state of happiness and bliss, but it's come here to this world of viruses. Therefore, intelligent people study the Holy Scriptures. These scriptures are the medicine against this virus. They calm our minds and they help us get out of this quarantine and go to our actual home, where there isn't any suffering. There's no birth and death. Only happiness and love and mutual relationships. The highest mutual relationship. We're reading Caitanya Caritamrta, where Lord Caitanya came to this world 500 years, and he showed what we need to do to be cured of this material disease. And intelligent people understand this method of chanting the holy names. The Hare Krishna mantra is the universal medicine for all people. And people can stay in their own traditions and also chant Hare Krishna. The Lord says this himself. Why do we need to do this? This is the highest form that shows us the meaning of life, to serve the object of love. In life, we always have to serve something or someone. But why don't we serve love? Because this is the nature of the soul. To serve this love. When the person finds the object of love, or God, the energy of exploitation starts to come off this. The birds. He serves birds, dogs, worms, anything. Everything he serves, everything around him, because this raises our consciousness. He doesn't become attached to these different forms of life. Because he has to serve somebody. And in the Holy Scriptures it says, if you serve somebody, if you serve the demigods or the ancestors, then that's where you'll end up after death. But the Lord says that if you serve me, then you go home, where your service is in bliss and happiness, no kind of suffering. And that's why Lord Chaitanya gave us this writing, so that they can get over this virus. Suffering will be, disease will be, there'll be changes of power and industry. There will always be these kinds of changes. But in order to wake up our, uh, but everybody has gotten this unique opportunity to wake up their spiritual nature through this very easy method. And we have all of this based on the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, where this method is followed by all of his followers. And we're inviting everybody to take part in this this wonderful life and help out their family and friends. Don't just walk your dog for nothing and ask yourself, why did I leave for nothing? So be very careful to correctly use your life. We're doing the method that'll help us to get on the line of perfecting our lives, and give the happiness to everyone who is practicing this. This chapter is talking about how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's going to Vrindavan and he meets with different personalities on the way to Vrindavan, gives them blessings, and they also develop symptoms of the love of God. They see, so that people can see that this works, and it's not just some sort of made-up thing. We stopped on the 243rd verse. We'll read a.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Gurudev. Предыдущий стих. Продолжай быть дома, повторяй. В Шантипуре Шри Чайтанья Махапрабху собрал всех своих последователей во главе с Адвайтой Ачарьей и Нитьянандой Прабху. Обнял каждого из них и спросил у них разрешения вернуться в Джаганатха-Пури. Поскольку Шри Чайтанья Махапрабху уже встретился в Шантипуре со всеми
Okay.
припав к стопам матери Шри Чайтанья Махапрабху, в
Starting
глубочайшем
at
смирении
Madhya
попросил позволения,
16:248.
и у нее,
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
и
said,
она
I shall
отпустила
certainly
его
go to
во
Vrindavan from
Вриндаван. Шримати
Jagannath.
Шашидеви,
If all of you give me
отвезли
permission,
обратно в
I shall
Навадвипу,
return here again
а
without
Господь
difficulty.
выступил со
Clasping the feet
своими
of his mother, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very
приближенными
humbly
в
requested her
Джаганатха-Пури.
permission. Thus she gave him
Ниладари.
leave to go to Vrindavan. Srimati Sachi Devi was sent back to Navadvip, and the Lord and his
По дороге в
devotees started
Нилачалу
for
Джаганатха-Пури
Niladari.
преданные, сопровождавшие Шри Чайтанью
The
Махапрабху,
devotees who
служили ему.
accompanied Sri Chaitanya
Так
Mahaprabhu
Господь с
rendered all
великой
kinds of
своей
service on the way to
радостью,
Nilachala,
с великой своей
Jagannath-puri.
радостью вернулся
Thus, in
назад.
great happiness, the
Придя в
Lord returned.
Джаганатха-Пури, Шри Чайтанья
When Sri
Махапрабху
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
отправился в храм
arrived in
Господа
Jagannath-puri, he
Джаганатхи.
visited the temple of the Lord.
И весть о
News
возвращении
then
Господа
spread
Чайтаньи
all over the
мгновенно
city that he had returned.
облетела весь город. Все
All the
преданные очень
devotees then
счастливые
came and met the
пришли
Lord with great happiness.
увидеться с
The
Господом.
Lord
И он,
embraced
охваченный
each of them in
эстетической
great
любовью,
ecstatic love.
обнял каждого.
Kashi Mishra,
Среди
Ramananda Roy,
преданных,
Pradyumna,
встречавших Шри
Sarvabhauma
Чайтанью
Bhattacharya,
Махапрабху,
Vani
были
Nadroy,
Каши Миша, Рамананда
Shaki
Рай
Mati, and all
Pradyumna,
other
Sarvabhauma
devotees met Sri
Bhattacharya,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Vaninathara,
Gadadhar Pandit also
Шикхи,
came and met the
Махити и
Lord.
многие другие.
Then, before all the
Гададхара Пандит
devotees,
тоже
Sri Chaitanya
пришел на
Mahaprabhu
встречу с
began to
Господом.
speak as follows.
Затем Шри Чайтанья Махапрабху
It was my
обратился
decision to
ко
go to
всем
Vrindavan
преданным.
through Bengal
Я
in
решил
order to
пойти во
see my
Вриндаван через
mother and the
Бенгалию,
river Ganges.
чтобы повидаться с
Thus I
матерью
went to
и увидеть
Bengal,
реку
but
Гангу.
thousands of devotees began to follow me.
Приняв
Many
такое
hundreds of
решение,
thousands of people
я
came to see
отправился в
me out of
Бенгалию.
curiosity,
Однако за
and
мной
due to such a
следом
large crowd,
пошли
I could
тысячи
not travel
преданных.
very freely on the road.
Взглянув на меня,
Indeed, the crowd was so large
взглянув на
that the
меня,
house and the boundary walls of the house where I
собралось
stayed were
несколько сотен
destroyed,
тысяч
and
зевак.
wherever I looked, I could
Из-за
see only large
такого
crowds.
скопления
With
народа
great
я
difficulty,
не
I
мог
went
идти
to
по
the town
дороге.
of Ramkeli,
Людей
where I
было так
met two
много,
brothers named
что
Rupa
под
and
их
Sanatana.
напором
These two
разрушился
brothers are
дом,
great
в котором
devotees
я
and suitable
остановился,
recipients
и
of
ограда
Krishna's
вокруг
mercy.
него.
But in their
Везде,
ordinary
куда бы
dealings, they are
я ни
government
бросил взгляд, были
officials,
несметные
ministers
толпы.
to the king.
С огромным трудом
Srila
добрался я
Rupa
до
and
города
Sanatana are very much
Рамакели,
experienced
где
in
встретил двух
education,
братьев
devotional
по имени
service,
Рупа и
intelligence, and
Санатана.
strength.
Эти двое
Yet they
братьев,
think themselves inferior
возвышенные
to
преданные,
straw
достойные
in the
обрести
street.
милости
Indeed, the humility of these two
Кришны,
brothers could even melt
хотя в обычной
stone.
жизни они служат
Because I was
министрами в
very
царском
pleased with their
правительстве.
behavior, I told them,
Шрила
although
Рупа
your brothers
Шри
are
Рупа
very
и
much
Санатана
exalted, you
получили
consider yourselves
превосходное
inferior.
образование.
And
Они
because of
очень
this,
преданы
Krishna will
Господу,
very soon deliver
разумны
you.
и сильны,
After speaking
но
to
при
them in
этом
this
считают
way,
себя ниже
I bade
соломинки
them
на улице.
farewell. As I was
Поистине,
leaving, Sanatana
смирение
told
этих
me,
братьев
it is not
способно
appropriate for one to be
растопить даже
followed by a
камень.
crowd of thousands
Весьма
when
довольный
going
их
to
поведением,
Vrindavan.
я сказал им,
Although I heard this,
несмотря
I
на
did not pay
свое
it any
возвышенное
attention.
положение,
And in the
вы оба
morning, I
считаете
went
себя
to the palace
последними
named
из людей,
Kanai,
поэтому Кришна очень скоро спасет вас.
Natashila.
Сказав
At
это,
night, however, I
я
considered what
простился с ними.
Sanatana had told
Когда
me.
я уже
I
уходил,
decided that Sanatana
Санатана
had spoken very
произнес,
well.
тому, кто
I was
идет во
certainly being followed
Вриндаван,
by a large
не подобает
crowd.
вести за
And
собой
when people would see
многотысячную
so many
толпу.
men, they would surely rebuke me,
Хотя я
saying,
услышал
"Here
его
is another
слова,
impostor."
я не придал им никакого
Then I began
значения,
to consider
и
that
утром
Vrindavan
отправился
is a very
в
solitary
селение
place.
Канай
It is
Наташала. Однако ночью я
invincible and
стал
very difficult
размышлять
to
над
attain.
словами
I
Санатаны.
therefore
Я решил, что Санатана был абсолютно
decided
прав.
to go
Действительно,
there
за мной шла
alone
огромная
at the
толпа.
utmost until
И люди,
one
видев
person, at the
столько
utmost with
последователей,
only one
непременно
person.
осудили бы меня, сказав,
Madhya
еще один
went to
самозванец.
Vrindavan alone, and Krishna, on the pretext of giving him
Затем я
milk,
подумал, что
granted him an
Вриндаван
audience.
очень уединенное
Then
место.
I
Вриндаван
understood that I was
неприступен
going
и
to
скрыт от
Vrindavan
глаз
like a
людских.
magician with his
Поэтому я
shadow,
решил
and this is
отправиться
certainly
туда
not good.
в одиночестве
No one should
или
go to
самое большое
Vrindavan
с
with
одним
so many men.
спутником. Мадхавендра Пури пришел
I
во
have therefore
Вриндаван один,
resolved to go
и Кришна
alone
сам
or
предстал
at the
перед ним,
utmost with
как
one
будто за тем,
servant. In
чтобы
this way,
принести ему
many journey to
молока.
Vrindavan.
Когда я
My
понял,
journey to Vrindavan will be
что
beautiful.
направлялся,
I thought, instead of going to Vrindavan alone, I am going with soldiers and the beating
можно
of
там
drums.
сесть.
I therefore
Надо там
said,
сесть просто.
"Fie
Надо
upon
сесть там.
me." And being very much agitated,
да,
I
надо
returned to the
сесть там.
banks of the Ganges.
Надо сесть
Then I
там,
left
слушать.
all the devotees there and brought only 5 or 6 persons with me. Now I wish that you will all be pleased with me and give me good consolation. Tell me how I shall be able to go to Vrindavan without impediments. I left Gadadhar
Тогда я
Pandit
понял,
here,
что
and he became
направлялся
very
во Вриндаван
unhappy.
подобно
For this
чародею,
reason, I could not go to
устраивающему
Vrindavan.
по
Being
дороге
encouraged by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's words,
представление,
Gadadhar Pandit
а в этом
became
нет ничего
absorbed in
хорошего.
ecstatic love.
Не следует
Immediately
приходить во
clasping the
Вриндаван с
lotus
такой
feet of the
толпой.
Lord, he began to
Поэтому я
speak with
решил
great
идти
humility.
в одиночестве
Gadadhar
или в
Pandit
крайнем
said,
случае с одним
Wherever
слугой.
you stay in
Тогда мое
Vrindavan, as
путешествие во
well as the
Вриндаван
river
будет
Yamuna, the river
замечательным.
Ganges, and all other places
Я
of
же
pilgrimage.
вместо того, чтобы идти во Вриндаван в одиночестве, направляюсь туда с
Although wherever
целым
you stay is
войском под
Vrindavan,
барабанный
you
бой.
will still go to
Поэтому
Vrindavan
я
just to
сказал
instruct
себе,
people.
какой позор,
Otherwise, you will
и
do
в
whatever
смятении
you think is
вернулся на
best.
берег Ганги.
Taking
Там
this
я
opportunity,
расстался со
Gadadhar
всеми
Pandit
преданными
said,
и привел с
Just now,
собой лишь
4 months of
5-6
the rainy
человек.
season have begun.
Теперь я прошу
You should
всех
therefore
вас
spend the next 4
смилостивиться
months in
надо мной
Jagannath
и дать мне хороший
After
совет.
remaining here for 4
Скажите,
months, you will be
как
free
мне
to do as you like.
беспрепятственно добраться до
Actually, no
Вриндавана?
one can stop you from going to
Я
or
бросил здесь
remaining.
Гададхару Пандита,
Upon hearing this statement, the
повергнув его в
devotees
горе,
present at
и
the
потому
lotus
не
feet of
смог
Sri
попасть во
Chaitanya
Вриндаван.
Mahaprabhu started
восторге от слов Шри
stated
Чайтаньи
that Gadadhar
Махапрабху,
Pandit had
Гададхар
properly presented
Пандит
their desire.
почувствовал
Being
прилив
requested by
экстатической
all
любви.
devotees, Sri
Обхватив
Caitanya
лотосные
Mahaprabhu
стопы
agreed to
Господа,
remain at Jagannath
он с
Puri for 4
величайшим
months.
смирением обратился
Hearing
к
this,
нему.
King Prataparudra
Гададхарам
became very
Пандит
happy.
произнес: «Где
That
бы ты ни
day, Gadadhar
находился,
Pandit
там
extended an
Вриндаван,
invitation to
а
Sri
также
Caitanya
Ямуна,
Mahaprabhu,
Ганга
and the
и
Lord
все
took his
святые
lunch
места.
at his place
Хотя
with the other
Вриндаван там,
devotees.
где ты все
No
равно
ordinary
пойдешь во
human being can
Вриндаван,
possibly
чтобы
describe
подать пример
Gadadhar Pandit's
остальным.
affectionate
В любом
presentation
случае ты
of
поступишь,
food, or Sri
как
Caitanya
считаешь нужным».
Mahaprabhu's tasting of this food.
Пользуясь случаем,
In
Гададхара
this way,
Пандит
Sri
сказал:
Caitanya Mahaprabhu
«Только
performed
что
his
начался
pastimes,
сезон
which are
дождей,
unlimited
поэтому
and
тебе лучше
unfathomable.
провести следующие 4 месяца в Джаганнатха-Пури.
Somehow or other,
Проведя
these
здесь
have
4
briefly been
месяца,
described.
ты можешь
It is
поступать
not
дальше,
possible
как
to
пожелаешь.
describe them
На самом
elaborately.
деле, тебя
Although
невозможно
Lord
где-либо
Anantadev
удержать
is
или
always
заставить
describing the
пойти
pastimes
куда-либо.
of the Lord with his thousands
Выслушав
of
эти
mouths,
слова,
he
все
could not
преданные,
reach the
собравшиеся
end
подле
of
лотосных
even
стоп
one of the
Шри
Lord's
Чайтаньи Махапрабху,
pastimes.
подтвердили,
Praying
что
at the lotus
Гададхара
feet of
Пандит
Sri Rupa and
правильно
Sri
выразил
Raghunath,
их
always desiring their
желание.
mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrta
Отвечая
following in their
на
footsteps.
просьбу всех преданных, Шри Чайтанья Махапрабху согласился остаться в Джаганнатхапури на 4 месяца. Услышав об этом, царь Пратапарудра возликовал. В тот день Гададхара Пандит пригласил Шри Чайтанью Махапрабху к
Chapter
себе,
17.
и Господь вместе с преданными пообедал у него. Ни
The
один
Lord
смертный
travels
не
to
в силах
Vrindavan.
описать, с какой любовью
On his way to
Гададхара Пандит
Vrindavan,
угощал
Lord
Шри
Sri Chaitanya
Чайтанью Махапрабху, и как
passed
Господь
through the
пробовал
forest
его
of
угощение.
Dwarikanda
Так Шри
and
Чайтанья
made all the
Махапрабху
tigers
являл
elephants.
свои лилы,
Oh, where
беспредельные
is the summary?
и непостижимые. Каким-то образом мне
The
удалось
following
коротко
summary of the
рассказать о
17th
них.
chapter is given
Однако
by
описать их во
Bhaktivinoda
всех
Thakur in
деталях
his
невозможно.
Amrita
Хотя
Bhashya.
тысячеустый Господь
After
Ананта
ending the
Дева
Ratha Yatra
без
ceremony
конца
of Sri Jagannath,
повествует
Sri
о лилах
Chaitanya
Господа,
Mahaprabhu decided to
он не может
start
до
for
конца
Vrindavan.
описать даже одну
Sri
из них.
Ramananda Roy
Молясь у лотосных стоп Шри Рупы и Шри
and
Рагунатхи,
Swarup Damodar Goswami
уповая на их
selected a
милость
Brahmana named
и следуя за
Balabhadra
ними, я,
Bhattacharya
Кришнадас,
to personally
рассказываю
assist
Шри
Sri
Чайтанья
Chaitanya
Чаритамриту.
Early in the morning before sunrise, the Lord started for the town
Мы
of
продолжим
Kataka,
дальше. Глава
north
17.
of Kataka. He
Путешествие
penetrated a
Господа во
dense
Вриндаван.
forest and came upon many tigers and elephants.
Краткий
And
обзор.
he
Шрила
engaged in
Бхактивинода
chanting the
Такур
Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
приводит в
Whenever he
Амрита
had a chance to
Праваха
visit a
Бхашье
village,
следующий
he would beg
пересказ
alms and acquire
17
some
главы.
rice and vegetables.
Приняв участие
If
в
there was no
праздновании
village,
Радхаятры,
he would cook whatever
Шри
rice remained
Джаганатхи,
and collect
Шри
some
Чайтанья
spinach from the
Махапрабху
forest to eat.
решил отправиться во
Sri
Вриндаван.
Chaitanya
Шри
Mahaprabhu
Рамананда Рай и
was very
Сварупа
pleased with
Дамадара
the behavior of
избрали
Vallabha
брамана
Bhattacharya.
по имени Балабхадра
In this
Бхаттачарья,
way, the Lord passed through the
а
jungle of
сопровождающий Чайтанью
Dwarikanda
Махапрабху
and finally
в
reached
путешествии.
Varanasi.
Рано утром,
After
еще до
taking his
восхода
bath
солнца,
at the
Господь
Manikarnika Ghat
отправился в сторону Каттака и к северу
at
от него
Varanasi, he met
углубился в
Pavana
джунгли.
Mishra, who
В
took the
джунглях ему
Lord to his
попадались
place and
тигры и
respectfully
слоны,
gave him
и
a
всех их
comfortable residence.
он побудил
At
повторять Махамантру Хари
Varanasi,
Кришна. Когда Господь и его
Vaidya
спутники, и его
Chandrasekhar, Sri
спутник
Chaitanya
проходили
Mahaprabhu's old
в
friend,
какую-нибудь деревню,
also rendered
Балабхадра
service unto
Бхаттачарья
him.
просил
Seeing the
там
behavior of Sri
милостыню,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
и
a
ему подавали рис и овощи.
Maharashtrian
А если
Brahmana
деревни
informed
рядом не было,
Prakashananda
то Балабхадра
Saraswati, the leader
варил
of the
оставшийся у
Mayavadi
него рис
sannyasis.
и собранный в лесу
Prakashananda made
шпинат.
various accusations
Чайтанья
against the
Махапрабху
Lord.
был очень
The
доволен
Maharashtrian
поведением
Brahmana was very sorry
Балабхадры
about this,
Бхаттачарьи.
and he brought the news to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
Это краткий был
inquiring
обзор
from him
главы.
why the Mayavadi sannyasis did not utter the holy name of Krishna.
Идя через
In reply,
джунгли
Sri Chaitanya
Джариханды
Mahaprabhu said that
во
they were
Вриндаван,
offenders
Господь
and
Шри
that they
Чайтанья
would
Махапрабху заставил
that one
всех
should not
тигров,
associate
слонов,
with them.
оленей и
In this
птиц
way, the Lord
повторять
bestowed his
Махамантру
blessings
Хари
upon the
Кришна
Brahmana.
и танцевать. Так все они
Sri Chaitanya
испытали
Mahaprabhu next
экстатическую любовь к
passed through
Богу.
Prayag and Mathura
Слава
and
Шри
then
Чайтанье
took his lunch
Махапрабху,
at the
слава
home
Господу
of
Нитянанде,
Sanodya Brahmana,
Слава
a disciple
Адвайта
of
Чандре,
Madhavendra Puri.
слава всем
He
преданным
bestowed his
Господа.
blessings upon the Brahmana
Когда
by
настала
accepting lunch at
осень,
his place.
Шри Чайтанья Махапрабху
Thereafter,
решил
the
идти
Lord
во Вриндаван.
visited the
В
12
укромном
forests of
месте он стал
Vrindavan
обсуждать
and
свои
was filled
планы
with great
с
ecstatic
Раманандой
love.
Раем и
As he
Сварупой
toured the
Дамадарой
Vrindavan
Госвами.
forest, he heard the
Господь
chirping of
попросил
parrots
Рамананду
and
Рая
other
и Сварупу
birds.
Дамадару Госвами помочь ему попасть во Вриндаван. Шри Чайтанья Махапрабху сказал:
Verse 1,
«Ранним
chapter
утром
17.
я покину город, и чтобы остаться неузнанным,
On his way
пойду
to
через джунгли
Vrindavan, Lord
и
Sri
отправлюсь
Chaitanya
в путь
Mahaprabhu
один, без
passed through the forest of
сопровождающих.
Dwarikanda
Если
and
кто-нибудь
made all the
пойдет за мной
tigers,
следом,
elephants, deer,
пожалуйста,
and birds chant
остановите его.
Hare Krishna
Я не
Mahamantra
хочу, чтобы
and
со
dance.
мной кто-то шел.
Thus, all these animals
Прошу
were
вас,
overwhelmed with
с легким
ecstatic
сердцем
love.
отпустите меня и не
All glories to
печальтесь.
Sri Chaitanya
Если вы будете
Mahaprabhu. All
счастливы,
glories to Lord
то и я,
Nityananda.
идя во
All
Вриндаван,
glories
тоже
to
буду
Advaita
счастлив.
Chandra. And all
Раманандара и
glories to all
Сварупа
the
Дамадара
devotees of the
Госвами
Lord. When
ответили:
autumn arrived, Sri
Дорогой
Chaitanya
Господь,
Mahaprabhu
ты
decided
полностью
to go to
независим,
Vrindavan,
а
a
поскольку
solitary
никто
place.
не властен над
He
тобой,
consulted with
ты
Ramananda
поступишь
Roy and
так,
Swarup
как
Damodar
пожелаешь.
Goswami. The Lord
Дорогой
requested
Господь,
Ramananda Roy and
выслушай,
Swarup Damodar
пожалуйста, одну
Goswami to
просьбу.
help him go
Ты
to
уже сказал,
Vrindavan.
что наше
Sri
счастье
Chaitanya
станет
Mahaprabhu
источником
said,
счастья
I
для
shall leave
тебя.
early in the
Это твои
morning and
собственные
go
слова.
incognito.
Если ты
Taking the
милостиво
road through the
согласишься
forest, I shall
исполнить
go alone.
всего лишь одну
I
нашу
shall not
просьбу,
take anyone
мы
with
будем
me.
безмерно счастливы.
If someone
О
wants to follow
Господь,
me, please stop him.
пожалуйста,
I
возьми с
don't
собой
want
одного
anyone to
достойного
go with
брамана.
me.
Он будет просить для тебя
Please give me
милостями,
your permission,
готовить и кормить
and
тебя
with great
просадом,
pleasure,
а в
and do
пути
not be
нести
unhappy.
твой кувшин
If
для
you are
воды.
unhappy, I shall be happy. If you are
Когда ты
happy, I shall be
пойдешь
happy on my way
через
to
джунгли,
Vrindavan.
там не будет
Upon
браманов,
hearing
у
this,
которых
Ramananda
можно
Roy and
пообедать.
Swarup Damodar Goswami
Поэтому,
replied,
пожалуйста,
Dear
позволь
Lord,
хотя бы
you are
одному
completely
чистому браману
independent.
сопровождать
Since you are
тебя.
not dependent on anyone, you will do
Чайтанья
whatever you
Махапрабху
desire.
сказал:
Dear
я не
Lord,
стану
kindly
брать с собой
hear
никого
our
из
one
своих близких
petition.
слуг.
You have
Ведь
already
если
said
я
that you will deliver
выберу
happiness
кого-нибудь,
from
одного,
our
остальные
happiness.
расстроятся.
This you will
Это
derive
должно быть
happiness from our
совсем
happiness.
незнакомый мне
This is your
человек.
own
И
statement.
он должен быть очень
If you will please
спокойным.
just accept one request,
Если
we
можно
shall be
найти такого
very, very
спутника,
happy.
то я соглашусь взять
Our
его
Lord,
с собой.
please take
Тогда
one
Сварупа
very
Дамодара
nice brahmana
сказал:
with you.
вот,
He will
Балабхадра
collect alms
Бхаттачарья,
for you, cook for you,
он
give you
очень любит
prasadam,
тебя,
and
и к
carry your
тому же
water
он
pot while
честен,
traveling.
знает Писание
When
и
you go through the
является
jungle,
духовно
there will be
возвышенным
no
человеком.
brahmana available, for
Когда-то он
whom
пришел с
you
тобой из
can accept
Бенгалии,
lunch.
и сейчас очень
Therefore,
хочет
please give
совершить
permission
паломничество по
for at least
святым,
one
по
pure
всем святым
brahmana to
местам.
accompany you.
Кроме него, ты
Sri
можешь
Chaitanya
взять еще
Mahaprabhu
одного
said,
брамана,
I
который
shall
будет
not take any of my
прислуживать тебе
associates with me,
в
because if
дороге
I
и
choose
помогать
someone, all the
готовить.
others will be unhappy.
Взяв с собой еще и его, ты доставишь нам огромную радость.
Such a person must be a
Если через
man,
джунгли с
and he
тобой
must have a
пойдут
peaceful
двое,
mind. If I can obtain
это,
such a
безусловно,
man, I shall
сильно
agree to take
облегчит
him
твое
with me.
путешествие.
Swarup Damodar then said,
Второй браман
Here
будет
is
нести твою
Balabhadra
одежду и кувшин для
Bhattacharya, who
воды,
has great
а
love for you.
Балабхадра Бхаттачарья
He is an
просить
honest, learned
подаяние
scholar,
и
and he is
готовить для тебя.
advanced in spiritual consciousness.
Чайтанья Махапрабху
In the
согласился
beginning, he
исполнить
came with
просьбу
you
Сварупы
from
Дамодары,
Bengal.
пандита,
It
и
is his
взял с
desire
собой
to
в
visit and
путешествие
see all the holy
Балабхадру
places of
Бхаттачарью.
pilgrimage. In addition, you may take another
Накануне
brahmana
вечером
who will
Чайтанья
act as your
Махапрабху
servant
побывал в
in
храме и получил разрешение от Господа Джаганатхи. А на исходе
If
ночи
you can take
Господь
him
Чайтанья
with you,
проснулся
we
и
will be
сразу
very
же
happy.
отправился в путь.
If two people go with
Никто
you
не
to the
видел,
jungle,
как
there
он
will be
уходил.
certainly
Когда Господь ушел,
no
преданные, не
difficulty or
обнаружив его рано
inconvenience.
утром, стали повсюду в смятении разыскивать его.
The
Все
other
преданные
brahmana can
начали
carry
искать
your cloth
Господа,
and water pot,
однако Сварупа
and
Дамодара
Balabhadra
остановил
Bhattacharya
их.
will collect alms
Поняв
and cook for
намерение
you.
Шри Чайтаньи Махапрабху, все
Thus, Sri
притихли.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted
Господь не
the
пошел
request
по
of
дороге,
Swarup
которой пользовались
Damodar Pandit
все,
and agreed to
а
take
вместо
Balabhadra
этого
Bhattacharya with
избрал
him.
обходный
On the previous
путь.
night, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had visited
Поэтому,
Lord Jagannath and taken his
когда он
permission.
углубился в джунгли,
Now,
Каттак
near the end
остался
of the
справа
night,
от
the
него.
Lord got up and
Господь
started
шел по
immediately. He
безлюдным
was
джунглям,
not seen by others.
повторяя святое имя Кришны, и
Because
при
the
виде
Lord had
Господа
departed, the
тигры из
devotees,
страны
unable to
уступали
see
ему
him early in the
дорогу.
morning, began to search for
Тогда
him
по
with
дороге
great
через джунгли
anxiety.
Господу встречались,
While all the devotees
когда
were
по дороге
searching for the Lord, Swarup
через
Damodar
джунгли
was
Господу
strangling.
встречались
Then
тигры,
everyone fell
кабаны
silent,
или стадо
knowing the mind
слонов
of Sri
и
Chaitanya
носорогов.
Mahaprabhu.
Господь в великом экстазе проходил прямо между ними. Один вид этих зверей приводил
The Lord
Балабхадру
abandoned walking on the
Бхаттачарью в
well-known
ужас.
public road
Однако
and
под
went
влиянием
instead
Чайтаньи
along to
Махапрабху они
along a
просто
bypass.
отходили в
He
сторону.
thus kept the city of Kataka
Однажды
on his
путь
right, and
Чайтаньи
he entered the
Махапрабху
forest.
преградил тигр,
When the Lord passed through the
лежавший на
solitary
тропинке,
forest,
и
chanting the
Господь
holy
Чайтанья,
name of
охваченный
Krishna,
экстазом
the
любви к
tigers and
Богу,
elephants, seeing
дотронулся
him,
до
gave
тигра
way.
стопой. Господь сказал:
When the Lord passed through
повторяй
the jungle
святое
in
имя
great
Кришны.
ecstasy, packs of
Тигр
tigers,
вскочил и
elephants,
начал танцевать,
rhinoceroses, boars
восклицая:
came,
Кришна, Кришна.
and the Lord
В другой раз, когда Шри
passed
Чайтанья
right through
Махапрабху
them.
омывался в реке, туда на водопой пришло стадо возбужденных слонов. Пока Господь, стоя в воде, читал мантру Гайатри,
Balabhadra Bhattacharya was very much afraid to see them,
тогда
but
Господь
by Sri
пришел
Chaitanya
на
Mahaprabhu's
слонов
influence,
водой
all the
и велел
animals
им
stood to one
повторять
side.
имя Кришны.
One day, a tiger was lying on the path, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, walking along the path in ecstatic love, touched the tiger with his feet. The Lord said, "Chant the holy name of Krishna. The tiger immediately got up and began to dance and chant Hare Krishna Krishna. Another day, while Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was bathing in a river, a herd of matted elephants came there to drink water. While the Lord was bathing and murmuring the Gayatri mantra, the elephants came before him. The Lord immediately splashed some water on the elephants and asked them to chant the name of Krishna. The elephants, whose bodies were touched by water splashed by the Lord, began to chant Krishna, Krishna, and dance and sing in ecstasy. Some of the elephants fell to the ground, and some screamed in ecstasy. Seeing this, Balabhadra Bhattacharya was completely astonished. Sometimes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted very loudly while passing through the jungle. Hearing his sweet voice, all the does came near him. Hearing the Lord's great vibration, all the does followed him, and right while reciting a verse with great curiosity, the Lord patted them. Blessed are all these foolish deer, because they have approached Maharaj Nanda's son, who is gorgeously dressed and is playing on his flute. Indeed, both the does and the bucks worship the Lord with looks of love and affection. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was passing through the jungle, 5 or 7 tigers came, joining the deer and tigers, and began to follow the Lord. Seeing the tigers and deer following him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately remembered the land of Vrindavan. Then he began to recite a verse describing the transcendental qualities of Vrindavan. Vrindavan is a transcendental abode of the Lord. There is no hunger, anger, or thirst there. Though naturally inimical, human beings and fierce animals live together there in transcendental friendship. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Chant Krishna, Krishna," the tigers and deers began to chant Krishna and dance. When all the tigers and does danced and jumped, Balabhadra Bhattacharya saw them and was struck with wonder. Indeed, the tigers and deers began to embrace one another, and touching mouths began to kiss. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw all this fun, he began to smile. Finally, he left the animals and continued on his way. Various birds, including the peacock, saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and began to follow him, chanting and dancing. They were all maddened by the holy name of Krishna. When the Lord loudly chanted Hari Bol, the trees and creepers became jubilant to hear him. Thus, all living entities in the forest of Jharkhand, some moving and some standing still, became maddened by hearing the holy name of Lord Krishna, vibrated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In all the villages through which the Lord passed, in all the places he rested on his journey, everyone was purified and awakened to ecstatic love of God. When someone heard the chanting of the holy name from the mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and someone else heard this chanting from the second person, and someone again heard this chanting from the third person, everyone in all countries became a Vaishnav through such disciplic succession. Thus, everyone chanted the holy name of Krishna and Hari, and they danced, cried, and smiled. The Lord did not always manifest his ecstasy. Being afraid of a great assembly of people, the Lord kept his ecstasy concealed. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not manifest his natural ecstatic love, everyone became a pure devotee and simply by seeing and hearing him. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally toured Bengal, East Bengal, Orissa, and the southern countries, and he delivered all kinds of people by spreading Krishna consciousness. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Jharkhand on his way to Mathura, he found that the people there were almost uncivilized and were devoid of God consciousness. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave even the Bhils an opportunity to chant the holy name and come to the platform of ecstatic love. Thus he delivered all of them, who has the power to understand the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed through Jharkhand forest, he took it for granted, and it was granted that it was Vrindavan. When he passed over the hills, he took it for granted that they were Govardhan. Similarly, whenever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw a river, he immediately accepted it as the river Yamuna. Thus, while in the forest, he was filled with great ecstatic love, and he danced and fell down crying. Along the way, Balaba Bhattacharya collected all kinds of spinach, roots, and fruit whenever possible. Whenever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited a village, a few brahmanas, 5 or 7, would come and extend invitations to the Lord. Some people would bring grain and deliver it to Balaba Bhattacharya. Others would bring milk and yogurt, and still others would bring ghee and sugar. Then, in some villages there were no brahmanas. Nonetheless, devotees born in a non-brahmana family came and extended invitations to Balaba Bhattacharya. Balaba Bhattacharya used to cook all kinds of vegetables gathered from the forest, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to accept these preparations. Balaba Bhattacharya used to keep a stock of food grain that would at least last for 2 or 4 days. Where there were no people, he would cook the grain and prepare vegetables, spinach roots, and fruits collected from the forest. The Lord was always very happy to eat these forest vegetables, and he was even happier when he had an opportunity to stay in a solitary place. Balaba Bhattacharya was so affectionate to the Lord that he was rendering service just like a menial servant. His assistant Brahmana carried the water pot and garments. The Lord used to bathe 3 times a day in warm water of the waterfalls, and he used to heat himself morning and evening with a fire made of the limitless wood. While traveling in the secluded forest and feeling very happy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made the following statement: "My dear Bhattacharya, I have traveled very far to the forest, and I have not even slightly received any trouble. Krishna is very merciful, especially to me. He sits down. He has shown his mercy by bringing me on this path through the forest. Thus he has given me great pleasure. Before this, I decided to go to Vrindavan, and on the way to see my mother, the river Ganges, and other devotees once again. I thought that once again I would see and meet all the devotees and take them with me to Vrindavan. Thus, I went to Bengal, and I was very happy to see my mother, the river Ganges, and the devotees. However, when I started for Vrindavan, many thousands and millions of people gathered and began to go with me. Thus I was going to Vrindavan with a big crowd. But through the mouth of Sanatana, Krishna taught me a lesson. Thus, by making some impediment, he has brought me on a path through the forest to Vrindavan. Krishna is an ocean of mercy. He is especially merciful to the poor and fallen. Without his mercy, there is no possibility of happiness." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then embraced Balabhadra Bhattacharya and told him, "It is only by your kindness that I am now so happy." Balaba Bhattacharya replied, "My dear Lord, you are Krishna himself, and therefore you are merciful. I am a fallen living entity, but you have bestowed a great favor upon me. Sir, I am most fallen, yet you have brought me with you. Showing great mercy, you have accepted food prepared by me. You have made me your carrier, Garuda, although I am no better than the condemned crow. Thus, you are the independent personality of Godhead, the original Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has the form of Satchidananda Vigraha, transcendental bliss, knowledge, and eternity. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him, who turns the dumb into eloquent speakers and enables the lame to cross mountains. Such is the mercy of the Lord." In this way, Balaba Bhattacharya offered his prayers to the Lord. By rendering service unto him in ecstatic love, he pacified the Lord's mind. Finally, the Lord arrived with great happiness at the holy place called Kashi. There he took his bath in the bathing ghat known as Manikarnika. At that time, Tapana Mishra was taking his bath in the Ganges, and he was astonished to see the Lord there. Tapana Mishra then began to think, "I have heard that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has accepted the renounced order." Thinking this, Tapana Mishra became very jubilant within his heart. He then clasped the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and began to cry. The Lord raised him up and embraced him. Tapana Mishra then took Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to visit the temple of Viveshvara. Coming from there, they saw the lotus feet of Lord Bindu Madhava. With great pleasure, Tapana Mishra brought Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home and rendered service unto him. Indeed, he began to dance, waving his cloth. He washed the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and afterwards his whole family drank the wash water. He also worshipped Ballabha Bhattacharya and showed him respect. Tapana Mishra invited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take lunch at his home, and he had Ballabha Bhattacharya cook. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his rest after lunch, the son of Tapana Mishra named Raghu used to massage his legs. The remnants of food left by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were taken by the whole family of Tapana Mishra. When news spread that the Lord had come, Chandrasekhar came to see him. Chandrasekhar happened to be a friend of Tapana Mishra, and he was long known to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as servant. He was a physician by caste, and by profession he was a clerk. At that time he was living in Varanasi. When Chandrasekhar came there, he fell down at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and began to cry. The Lord, standing up, embraced him out of his causeless mercy. Chandrasekhar said, "My dear Lord, you have bestowed your causeless mercy upon me because I am your old servant. Indeed, you have come here personally to give me your audience. Due to my past deeds, I am residing at Varanasi. And here I do not hear anything but the words Maya and Brahman." Chandrasekhar continued, "There is no talk at Varanasi other than the discussions on the 6 philosophical theses. Nonetheless, Tapana Mishra has been very kind to me, for he speaks about topics relating to Lord Krishna. My dear Lord, we too think that of your lotus feet incessantly. Although you are the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead, you have granted us your audience. My Lord, I have heard that you are going to Vrindavan. Please stay here at Varanasi for some days and deliver us, for we are your 2 servants." Tapana Mishra then said, "My dear Lord, as long as you stay at Varanasi, please do not accept any invitation other than mine." Even though he had not made a plan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained for 10 days at Varanasi, being obligated by the request of his 2 servants. At Varanasi, there was a Maharashtrian Brahmana who used to come daily to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This Brahmana was simply astonished to see the Lord's personal beauty and the ecstatic love for Krishna. When the Brahmanas of Varanasi would invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to lunch, the Lord would not accept their invitations. He would reply, "I have already been invited somewhere else." Every day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused their invitations because he feared associating with Mayavad sannyasis. There was a great Mayavad sannyasi named Prakashananda Saraswati who used to teach Vedanta philosophy to a great assembly of followers. A Brahmana who saw the wonderful behavior of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Prakashananda Saraswati and described the Lord's characteristics. The Brahmana told Prakashananda Saraswati, "There is a sannyasi who has come from Jagannath Puri. I cannot describe his wonderful influence and glories. Everything is wonderful about that sannyasi. He has a very well-built and luxuriant body, and his complexion is purified gold. He has arms that extend to his knees, and his eyes are like the petals of the lotus. In his person are all the transcendental symptoms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one sees all these features, one takes him to be Narayana himself. Whoever sees him immediately begins to chant the holy name of Krishna. We have heard about the symptoms of a first-class devotee in Srimad Bhagavatam, and all these symptoms are manifest in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His tongue is always chanting the holy name of Krishna, and from his eyes tears incessantly fall like the flowing Ganges. Sometimes he dances, laughs. Sometimes he dances, laughs, sings, and cries, and sometimes he roars like a lion. His name, Krishna Chaitanya, is all auspicious for the world. Everything about him, his name, form, and qualities, is unparalleled. Simply by seeing him, one understands that he possesses all the characteristics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such characteristics are certainly uncommon. Who will believe it? Prakashananda Saraswati laughed very much to hear this description. Joking and laughing at the Brahmana, he began to speak as follows. Prakashananda Saraswati said, "Yes, I have heard about him. He is a sannyasi from Bengal, and he is very sentimental. I have also heard that he belongs to the Bharati Sampradaya, for he is a disciple of Keshava Bharati. However, he is only a pretender." Prakashananda Saraswati continued, "I know that his name is Caitanya, and that he is accompanied by many sentimentalists. His followers dance with him, and he tours from country to country and village to village. Whoever sees him accepts him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, since he has some mystic power by which he hypnotizes people. Everyone who sees him becomes illusioned." Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a very learned scholar, but I have heard that he has also become a madman due to his association with this Caitanya. This Caitanya is a sannyasi in name only. Actually, he is a first-class magician. In any case, his sentimentalism cannot be very much in demand here in Kashi. Do not go to see Caitanya. Just continue hearing Vedanta. If you associate with upstarts, you will be lost in this world and in the next. When the Brahmana heard Prakashananda Saraswati speak like this about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became very much grief-stricken. Chanting the holy name of Krishna, he immediately left. The mind of the Brahmana was already purified by his seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Не встречайся больше с читанием. Просто продолжай слушать Веданту. Если ты будешь общаться со своевольными людьми, то не получишь...
He therefore went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and described what had taken place before the Mayavadi sannyasi Prakashananda. Hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mildly smiled. The Brahmana then spoke again to the Lord. The Brahmana said, "As soon as I uttered your name before him, he immediately confirmed the fact that he knew your name. While finding fault with you, he uttered your name 3 times, saying, 'Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya.' Although he spoke your name 3 times, he did not utter the name Krishna. Because he uttered your name in contempt, I was very much aggrieved."
Тогда Браман снова обратился к Господу. Браман сказал, «Стоило мне назвать
Why could Prakashananda not utter the names Krishna and Hari? He chanted the name Chaitanya thrice. As far as I am concerned, simply by seeing you, I am moved to chant the holy name Krishna and Hari." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "The Mayavadi impersonalists are great offenders unto Krishna. Therefore they simply utter the word Brahman, Atma, and Chaitanya. Because they are offenders unto Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is identical with his holy name, the holy name Krishna does not manifest in their mouths. The Lord's holy name, all his form and personality, are all one and the same. There is no difference between them. Since all of them are absolute, they are all transcendently blissful. There is no difference between Krishna's body and himself, or between his name and himself. But as far as the conditioned soul is concerned, one's name is different from one's body, from one's original form, and so on. The holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by the material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical. The holy name of Krishna, his body, his pastimes, cannot be understood by the blunt material senses. They are manifested independently. Krishna's holy name, transcendental qualities, and transcendental pastimes are all equal to Lord Krishna himself. They are all spiritual and full of bliss. Therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name, taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified, and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. The mellows of Lord Krishna's pastimes, which are full of bliss, attract the jnani from the pleasure of Brahman realization and conquer him. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the son of Vyasadeva, Shukadev Goswami. It is he who defeats all inauspicious things within this universe. Although in the beginning he was absorbed in the happiness of Brahman realization, he was living in a secluded place, giving up all types of consciousness. He became attracted by the melodious pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna. He therefore mercilessly spoke the supreme Purana known as the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is as bright as the absolute truth, and which describes the activities of Lord Krishna. The transcendental qualities of Krishna are completely blissful and relishable. Consequently, Lord Krishna's qualities attract even the minds of self-realized persons from the bliss of self-realization. Those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by external material desires are also attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna, whose qualities are transcendental and whose activities are wonderful. Hari, the personality of Godhead, is called Krishna because he has such transcendentally attractive features. Apart from the pastimes of Lord Krishna, when tulsi leaves are offered at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, even the aroma of leaves attracts the minds of self-realized persons. When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves and saffron from the lotus feet of the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead enter through the nostrils into the hearts of those sages, the Kumaras, they experience a change in both body and mind, even though they were attracted to the impersonal Brahman understanding. Because the Mayavadis are great offenders and atheistic philosophers, the holy name of Krishna does not come from their mouths. I have come here to sell my emotional ecstatic sentiments to the city of Kashi, but I cannot find any customers. If they are not sold, I must take them back home. I have brought a heavy load to sell in the city. To take it back again is a very difficult job. Therefore, I get but a fraction of the price. I shall sell it here in the city of Kashi. After saying this, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu accepted that Brahmana as his devotee. The next morning, rising very early, the Lord started for Mathura. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu started for Mathura, all of their 3 devotees started with him, but the Lord forbade them from accompanying him, and from a distance he asked them to return home. Feeling separation from the Lord, the 3 used to meet and glorify the holy qualities of the Lord. Thus they were absorbed in ecstatic love. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to Prayag, where he bathed at the confluence of the Ganges and the Yamuna. Then he visited the temple of Veni Madhava and chanted and danced in ecstatic love. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the river Yamuna, he threw himself into it. Vallabhabhadra the Bhattacharya hastily caught the Lord and very carefully raised him up again. The Lord stayed at Prayag for 3 days. He delivered the holy name of Krishna in ecstatic love. Thus he delivered many people. Wherever the Lord stopped to rest on the way to Mathura, he delivered the holy name of Krishna and ecstatic love of Krishna. Thus he made people dance. When the Lord toured South India, he delivered many people, and when he traveled in the western sector, he similarly converted many people to Vaishnavism. While the Lord was going to Mathura, he came across the river Yamuna several times, and as soon as he saw the river Yamuna, he would immediately jump in, falling unconscious in the water, in the ecstasy of love of Krishna. When he approached Mathura and saw the city, he immediately fell to the ground and offered obeisances with great ecstatic love. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the city of Mathura, he took his bath at the Vaishramagat. He then visited the birthplace of Krishna and saw the deity named Keshavaji. He offered his respectful obeisances to the deity. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted, danced, and made loud vibrations, all the people were astonished to see his ecstatic love. One Brahmana fell at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and begged to dance with him in ecstatic love. The two of them danced in ecstatic love and embraced each other. Raising their arms, they said, "Chant the holy names of Krishna, Hare and Krishna." All the people then began to chant, "Hari, Hari," and there was a great uproar. The priest in Lord Keshava's service offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a garland. When the people saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing and chanting, they were struck with wonder, and they all said, "Such transcendental love is never an ordinary thing." The people said, "Simply by seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone is maddened with love of Krishna. Indeed, everyone is laughing, crying, dancing, chanting, and taking the holy name of Krishna." Certainly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in all respects the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Now he has come to Mathura to deliver everyone. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the Brahmana aside. Sitting in a solitary place, the Lord began to question him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You are an elderly Brahmana. You are sincere and you are advanced in spiritual life. Wherefrom have you gotten this transcendental opulence of ecstatic love of Krishna?"
Один браман припал к лотосным стопам Шри Чайтаньи Махапрабху, а потом начал танцевать вместе с ним, охваченный экстатической любовью к Богу.
The Brahmana replied, "His Holiness Sri Madhavendra Puri came to the city of Mathura while he was on tour. While at Mathura, Sripad Madhavendra Puri visited my house and accepted me as a disciple. He even took lunch at my home. After installing the deity of Gopal, Srila Madhavendra Puri rendered him service. That very deity was still being worshipped at Govardhan Hill. As soon as Caitanya Mahaprabhu heard about Madhavendra Puri's relationship with the Brahmana, he immediately offered obeisances at his feet. Becoming fearful, the Brahmana also immediately fell at the Lord's feet. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You are on the platform of my spiritual master, and I am your disciple. Since you are my spiritual master, it is not befitting that you offer me obeisances." Upon hearing this, the Brahmana became afraid. He then said, "Why do you speak like this? You are sannyasi. Upon seeing your ecstatic love, I can just imagine that you must have some relationship with Madhavendra Puri. This is my understanding." This kind of ecstatic love can be experienced only when one has a relationship with Madhavendra Puri. Without him, even a scent of such transcendental ecstatic love is impossible. Balabhadra Bhattacharya then explained the relationship between Madhavendra Puri and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After hearing this, the Brahmana became very pleased and began to dance. The Brahmana then took Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home, and out of his own free will began to serve the Lord in various ways. He asked Balabhadra Bhattacharya to cook Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lunch. At that time, the Lord, smiling, spoke as follows. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Madhavendra Puri has already taken lunch at your place. Therefore, you may cook and give me the food. That is my instruction. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues." The Brahmana belonged to the Sanodya Brahmana community, and the sannyasi does not accept food from such a Brahmana. Although the Brahmana belonged to the Sanodya community, Srila Madhavendra Puri had seen that he behaved like a Vaishnava, and he had therefore accepted him as his disciple. The food he had cooked had been accepted by Madhavendra Puri. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu willingly requested food from the Brahmana, And the Brahmana, feeling natural humility, began to speak as follows. It is a great fortune for me to offer you food. You are the Supreme Lord. And being in transcendental position, you are not restricted in any way. Foolish people will blaspheme you, but I shall not tolerate the words of such mischievous people. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, the Vedas, Puranas, and great learned sages are not always in agreement with one another. Consequently, there are different religious principles. A devotee's behavior establishes the true purpose of religious principles. The behavior of Madhavendra Puri Goswami is the essence of such religious principles. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, dry arguments are inconclusive. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. The solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajans advocate. After this discussion, the Brahmana served lunch to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then all the people residing in Mathura came to see the Lord. People come by the hundreds of thousands, and no one could count them. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came out of the house to give audience to the people.
171 стих он есть у нас. 172 судья.
When the people assembled, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised his arms and said very loudly, Hari Bol! The people responded to the Lord and became ecstatic. As if mad, they began to dance and to vibrate the transcendental sound Hari. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bathed in 24 ghats along the banks of the Yamuna, and the Brahmana showed him all the places of pilgrimage. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited all the holy places on the banks of the Yamuna, including Swayambhu, Ramagat, Dirga, Vishnu, Bhuteshwara, Mahavidya, and Gokarna. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to see the various forests of Vrindavan, he took the Brahmana with him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited different forests, including Madhuvan, Talavan, Kumadvan, and Bahulavan. Where he went, he took his bath with great ecstatic love. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed through Vrindavan, herds of grazing cows saw him pass, and immediately surrounding him began to move very loudly. Seeing the herds approach him, the Lord was stunned with ecstatic love. The cows began to lick his body out of great affection. Becoming pacified, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to caress the cows, and the cows, being unable to give up his company, went with him. It was only with great difficulty that the cowherd men were able to keep the cows back. Then, when the Lord chanted, all the deer heard his sweet voice and approached him. When does the bucks came and saw the Lord's face, they began to lick his body. Not being at all afraid of him, they accompanied him along the path. Bumblebees and birds, like the parrots and the cuckoo, all began to sing loudly on the fifth note, and the peacocks began to dance in front of the Lord. Upon seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the trees and creepers of Vrindavan became jubilant. Their twigs stood up, and they began to shed tears of ecstasy in the form of honey. The trees, branches, and creepers, overloaded with fruits and flowers, fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord and greeted him with various presentations, as if they were friends. Thus, all the moving and non-moving living entities of Vrindavan became very jubilant to see the Lord. It was as if friends were made happy by seeing another friend. Seeing their affection, the Lord was moved by ecstatic love. He began to sport with them exactly as a friend sports with his friends. Thus he voluntarily came under the control of his friends. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to embrace each and every tree and creeper, and they began to offer their fruits and flowers, if in meditation. The Lord's body was restless, and tears, trembling, and jubilation were manifest. He said very loudly, "Chant Krishna, chant Krishna." All moving and non-moving creatures then began to vibrate the transcendental sound of Hare Krishna, as if they were echoing the deep sound of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord then clasped the necks of the deer and began to cry. There was jubilation manifest in the bodies of the deer, and tears were in their eyes. When a male and female parrot appeared on the branches of the tree, the Lord saw them and wanted to hear them speak. Both parrots flew on the hand of the Lord and began to chant the transcendental qualities of Krishna, and the Lord listened to them. The male parrots sang, "The glorification of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beneficial to everyone in the universe. His beauty is victorious over the gopis of Vrindavan, and it subdues their patience. His pastimes astound the goddess of fortune, and his bodily strength turns the Govardhan hill into a small toy like a ball. His spotless qualities are unlimited, and his behavior satisfies everyone. Lord Krishna is attractive to everyone. Oh, may our Lord maintain the whole universe." After hearing this description of Lord Krishna, the female parrot began to recite a description of Srimati Radharani. A female parrot said, "Srimati Radharani's affection, her exquisite beauty and good behavior, her artistic dancing and chanting, and her poetic compositions are all so attractive that they attract the mind of Krishna." Who attracts the mind of everyone in the universe? Thereafter the male parrot said, "Krishna is the enchanter of the mind of Cupid." He then began to recite another verse. The male parrot then said, "My dear Sati," female parrot, "Sri Krishna carries a flute and enchants the hearts of all the women throughout the universe. He is specifically the enjoyer of the beautiful gopis, and he is the enchanter of Cupid also. Let him be glorified." Then the female parrot began to speak jokingly to the male parrot, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was struck with wonderful ecstatic love to hear her speak. The female parrot said, "When Lord Sri Krishna is with Radharani, he is the enchanter of Cupid. Otherwise, when he is alone, he himself is enchanted by the erotic feelings, even though he enchants the whole universe." Both parrots then flew into the tree branch, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to watch the dancing of the peacocks with curiosity. When the Lord saw the bluish necks of the peacocks, his remembrance of Krishna immediately awakened, and he fell to the ground in ecstatic love. When the Brahmana saw that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was unconscious, he and Balabhabhatacharya took care of him. They hastily sprinkled water over the Lord's body, and they took up his outer cloth and began to fan him with it. They then began to chant the holy name of Krishna into the Lord's ear. When the Lord regained consciousness, he began rolling on the ground. When the Lord rolled on the ground, the sharp thorns injured his body. Taking him on his lap, Balabhabhatacharya pacified him. The mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wandered in ecstatic love of Krishna. He immediately stood up and said, "Chant, chant!" Then he himself began to dance. Being thus ordered by the Lord, both Balabhabhatacharya and the Brahmana began to chant the holy name of Krishna. Then the Lord, dancing and dancing, proceeded along the path. The Brahmana was astounded to see the symptoms of ecstatic love exhibited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he became anxious to give the Lord protection. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mind was absorbed in ecstatic love of Jagannath Puri, but when he passed along the road on the way to Vrindavan, that love increased 100 times. The Lord's ecstatic love increased 1,000 times when he visited Mathura, but it increased 100,000 times when he wandered in the forests of Vrindavan. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was elsewhere, the very name of Vrindavan was sufficient to increase its ecstatic love. Now, when he was actually traveling in Vrindavan forest, his mind was absorbed in great ecstatic love day and night. He ate and bathed simply out of habit. Thus I have written a description of the ecstatic love Lord Chaitanya manifested in one of the places he visited while walking through the 12 forests of Vrindavan. To describe what he experienced everywhere would be impossible. Lord Ananta writes millions of books elaborately describing the transformations of ecstatic love experienced by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Vrindavan. Since Lord Ananta himself cannot describe even a fragment of these pastimes, I am simply pointing out the direction. The whole world became immersed in inundation of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One can swim in the water to the extent that he has strength. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrta following in their footsteps. Thus in chapter 17, the Lord travels to Vrindavan. Chapter 18, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visits Sri Vrindavan.
Самка попугая произнесла стих, описывающий Шримати Радхарани. Самка попугая сказала: нежность Шримати Радхарани, ее восхитительная красота,
Chapter 18 summary.
ее грациозный танец, непревзойденное пение и поэтический дар.
The following summary of the 18th chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravanabhyas. In the village of Arit Gram, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discovered the transcendental lakes known as Radhakund and Shamakund. He then saw the deity Haridev at Govardhan village. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had no desire to climb Govardhan hill because the hill is worshipped as Krishna. The Gopal deity could understand the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, on the plea of being attacked by Muslims, Gopal transferred himself to the village of Gantuligram. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to Gantuligram to see Lord Gopal. Some years later, Lord Gopal also went to Mathura, to the house of Vitatpla-aleshwar. Stayed there for 1 month just to give audience to Srila Rupa Goswami. After visiting Nandishwar, Pavana Sarovara, Sheshishaya, Kailatitya, Bandhiravana, Bhadravan, Lohavan, and Mahavan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Gokul and finally returned to Mathura. Seeing a great crowd in Mathura, he moved his residence near Akruragat. From there, he went every day to Vrindavan to see Kali Hrada, Dwadashadityagat, Keshigat, Rasalastali, Chiragat, and Amalithali. Tala. At Kalia Lake, many people mistook the fishermen for Krishna. When some respectable people came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they expressed their opinion that when one takes sannyasi, he becomes Narayana. Their mistake was corrected by the Lord. In this way, their Krishna consciousness was awakened, and they could understand that the sannyasi is simply a living entity and not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his bath at Akruragat, he submerged himself in the water for a long time. Balabhadra Bhattacharya decided to take Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Prayag after visiting the holy place known as Sorochetra. While stopping near a village on the way to Prayag, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fainted in ecstatic love. Some Prathana soldiers who were passing through saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and falsely concluded that the Lord's associates, Balabhadra Bhattacharya and others, had killed the Lord with a poison named Dutura, and were taking his wealth. Thus, the soldiers arrested them. However, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regained his senses, his associates were released. He talked with a person who was supposed to be a holy man in the party from Quran.
слова Вриндаван было достаточно, чтобы
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established devotional service to Krishna.
теперь же,
Thus,
идя
the
по
leader
улице
of the
Вриндавана,
soldiers named
Господь Чайтанья
Vijuli Khan
постоянно днем и ночью пребывал
surrendered
в
to Sri
глубочайшем
Chaitanya
экстазе
Mahaprabhu,
любви к
and he
Кришне.
and his party became
Омывался
devotees
и
of
ел
Lord
он
Krishna.
лишь по привычке. Я описал здесь экстаз любви к Кришне, проявленный Господом Чайтаньей в одном из мест, который он посетил в ходе своих странствий по 12 лесам Вриндавана. Рассказать обо всем,
The same village today is
что
known as
чувствовал
the
в
village
других
of
местах,
Patana,
невозможно.
Vaishnavas.
Господь Ананта
After bathing
пишет
in the
миллионы
Ganges
книг,
of
раскрывая
at
многообразие
Soro, Sri
экстатических
Chaitanya
духовных
Mahaprabhu
переживаний
arrived
Шри
at
Чайтаньи
Prayag,
Махапрабху во Вриндаване.
the confluence of the three rivers,
Поскольку
the
сам Господь
Ganges,
Ананта
Yamuna,
не
and
способен
Saraswati.
описать даже малую часть этих игр, я лишь попытался дать самое
Verse
общее
1,
представление о них.
chapter 18.
Игры Шри Чайтаньи
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled all over Vrindavan
Каждый
and pleased
может
all living
проплыть
entities,
в этих
moving
водах
and non-moving with his
сколько
glances.
позволяют его силы.
The Lord took much personal pleasure in seeing everyone. In this way, Lord Gauranga traveled to Vrindavan. All glories to Lord Gaurachandra, all glories to Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Advaita Prabhu, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya headed by Srivas Thakur.
Итак, здесь открывается Вриндаван, самое сокровенное место в духовном жизни.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in ecstasy, but when he arrived at Aritigram, his sense perception was awakened. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the local people, "Where is Radhakund?" No one could inform him, but the Brahmana accompanying him did not know either.
Давайте прочитаем дальше. Глава 18. Господь Шри Чайтанья Махапрабху в Шри Вриндаване. Молча размышлял над этим. Господь Гопала,
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in ecstasy, but when he arrived at Artigram, his sense perception was awakened. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the local people, "Where is Radhakund?" No one could inform him, and the Brahmana accompanying him did not know either. The Lord then understood that the holy place called Radhakund was no longer visible. However, being the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead, he discovered Radhakund and Shamakund in two paddy fields. There was only a little water, but he took his bath there. When the people of the village saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking his bath in those two ponds in the middle of the paddy fields, they were very much astonished. The Lord then offered his prayers to Sri Radhakund. Of all the gopis, Radharani is the dearmost. Similarly, the lake known as Radhakund is very dear to the Lord because it is very dear to Srimati Radharani. Just as Srimati Radharani is most dear to Lord Krishna, so her lake known as Radhakund is also very dear to him. Of all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is certainly his most beloved. In that lake, Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani used to sport daily in the water and have a rasa dance on the bank. Indeed, Lord Krishna gives ecstatic love like that of Srimati Radharani to whoever bathes in that lake, even once in his life. The attraction of Radhakund is as sweet as that of Srimati Radharani. Similarly, the glories of that Kund lake are as great as Srimati Radharani's. Because of its wonderful transcendental qualities, Radhakund is as dear to Krishna as Srimati Radharani. It was in that lake that the all-opulent Lord Sri Krishna performed his pastimes of Srimati Radharani with great pleasure and transcendental bliss. Whoever bathes just once in Radhakund retains Srimati Radharani's loving attraction for Sri Krishna. Who within this world can describe the glories and sweetness of Sri Radhakund? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus offered prayers to Radhakund. Overwhelmed by ecstatic love, he danced on the bank, remembering the pastimes of Lord Krishna performed on the bank of Radhakund. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then marked his body with tilak made from the mud of Radhakund, and with the help of Balabhadra Bhattacharya he collected some of the mud and took it with him. From Radhakund, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Somanana's lake. When he saw Govardhan hill from there, he was overwhelmed with joy. When the Lord saw Govardhan, he immediately offered obeisances, falling down on the ground like a rod. He embraced one piece of rock from Govardhan hill and became mad. Mad with ecstatic love, the Lord came to the village known as Govardhan. There he saw the deity named Haridev and offered him obeisances unto him. Haridev is an incarnation of Narayana, and his residence is on the western petal of the lotus of Mathura. Mad with ecstatic love, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to dance before the Haridev deity. Hearing the Lord's worshipful activities, all the people came to see him. The people were astonished when they saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love for the personal beauty. The priest who served Haridev offered the Lord a good reception. At Brahmakund, the Bhattacharya cooked food, and the Lord, after taking his bath at Brahmakund, accepted his lunch. That night, the Lord stayed at the temple of Haridev, and during the night he began to reflect. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought, "Since I shall not at any time climb Govardhan hill, how shall I be able to see Gopal Roy?" Thinking in this way, the Lord remained silent, and Lord Gopal, knowing his contemplation, played a trick. Coming down from Govardhan hill, Lord Gopal granted an interview to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was unwilling to climb the hill. Thinking himself a devotee of Lord Krishna, Gopal stayed in a village called Anatkutaram on the Govardhan hill. The villagers who lived in that village were mainly from Rajasthan. One person who came to the village informed the inhabitants, "The Turkish soldiers are now preparing to attack your village. Flee this village tonight and do not allow one person to remain. Take the deity with you and leave, for the Muslim soldiers will now come tomorrow." Hearing this, all the villagers became very anxious. They first took Gopal and moved him to a village known as Gantuli. The Gopal deity was kept in the house of a Brahmana, and his worship was conducted secretly. Everyone fled, and thus the villages of Anakuta was deserted. Due to fear of the Muslims, the Gopal deity was moved from one place to another again and again. Thus giving up his temple, Lord Gopal would sometimes live in a bush and sometimes in one village after another. In the morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his bath in a lake called Manasaganga. He then circumambulated Govardhan Hill. Just by seeing Govardhan Hill, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became ecstatic with love of Krishna. While dancing, he recited the following verse: "Of all the devotees, this Govardhan Hill is the best. O my friends, this hill supplies Krishna and Balaram, as well as their calves, cows, and cowherd friends, with all kinds of necessities: water for drinking, very soft grass, caves, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. In this way, the hill offers respect to the Lord." Being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, Govardhan Hill appears very jubilant. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then took his bath at the lake called Govindakund, and while he was there, he heard that the Gopal deity had already gone to Gantuligram. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the village of Gantuligram. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the village of Gantuligram and saw the Lord Gopal deity, overwhelmed by ecstatic ecstasy. By ecstatic love, he began to chant and dance. As soon as the Lord saw the beauty of the Gopal deity, he was immediately overwhelmed by ecstatic love, and he recited the following verses. He then chanted and danced until the day ended. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, May the left arm of Sri Krishna, whose eyes are like the petals of a lotus flower, always protect you. Within his left arm, he raised Govardhan hill as if it was toy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Gopal deity for 3 days, and on the 4th day, the deity returned to his own temple. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu walked with the deity and he chanted and danced. A large and jubilant crowd of people also chanted the transcendental name, Krishna, Hare Hare. The Gopal deity then returned to his own temple, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained at the bottom of the hill. Thus all the desires of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were satisfied by the Gopal deity. This is the way of Lord Gopal's kind behavior to his devotees. Seeing this, the devotees were overwhelmed by ecstatic love. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very eager to see Gopal, but he did not want to climb Govardhan hill. Therefore, some trick the Gopal deity personally descend. In this way, giving some excuse, Gopal sometimes remains in the bush of the forest, in a village. One of the devotees comes to see the deity. In the ripe old age, Srila Rupa Goswami could not go there, but he had a desire to see the beauty of Gopal. Due to fear of Muslims, Gopal went to Mathura, where he remained in the house of Vatsaleshwara for 1 full month. Srila Rupa Goswami and his associates stayed in Mathura for 1 month and saw the Gopal deity. When Rupa Goswami stayed at Mathura, he was accompanied by Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Lokanath Das Goswami. Bhugarbha Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Yadava Acharya, and Govinda Goswami also accompanied Srila Rupa Goswami. He was also accompanied by Sri Uddhava Das, Madhava, Sri Gopal Das, and Narayana Das. The great devotee Govinda, Vani Krishna Das, Paundari Kaksha, Ishana, and Lagu Haridas also accompanied him. It was with great jubilation that Rupa Goswami visited Lord Gopal, accompanied by his all After staying in Mathura for 1 month, the Gopal deity returned to his own place, and Sri Rupa Goswami returned to Vrindavan. In the course of the story, I have given a description of Lord Gopal's mercy. After seeing the Gopal deity, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Sri Kamyavan. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's touring Vrindavan has been previously described in the same ecstatic way. He traveled all over Vrindavan. After visiting the place of Krishna's pastimes at Kamayavan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Nandishwar, where while there he was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bathed in all the celebrated lakes, beginning with Lake Pavana. Thereafter he climbed a hill and spoke to the people. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, "Are there any deities on top of the hill?" The local people replied, "There are deities on this hill, but they are located within a cave. There with a father and mother with well-built bodies, and between them is a very beautiful child who is curved in 3 places." Hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. After excavating the cave, he saw the 3 deities. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his respects to Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, and with great ecstatic love, he touched the body of Lord Krishna. Every day, The Lord chanted and danced in ecstatic love. Finally, he went to Kandiravana. After seeing the places of Lord Krishna's pastimes, Sri Chaitanya went to Sheshashaya, and there he saw Lakshmi and recited the following verse. O dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts.
До полудня повторял там святое имя. После обеда люди могли побеседовать с ним.
Fearing that your feet will be hurt.
Он объяснял важность святого имени. Однажды увидеться со Шри Чайтаньей Махапрабху пришел вайшнав по имени Кришнадас. Он был семейным человеком, принадлежал касте кшатриев и жил на другом берегу Ямуны.
O dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts. After Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw Caitanya and went to the class of Bandiravana, he crossed the river Yamuna. He went to Bhadravan. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then visited Shivana Lovana, and he saw and then went to Mahavan and saw Gokul, the place of Lord Krishna's early childhood pastimes. Upon seeing the place where the twin Arjuna trees had been broken, Sri Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was moved to great ecstatic love. After seeing Gokul, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Mathura, where he saw the birthplace of the Lord. While there, he stayed at the house of the Sanodya Brahmana. Seeing the great crowd assembled at the Mathura, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left and went to Akrura Tirtha. He remained there in a solitary place. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan and took his bath at Kalia Lake in Prakashananda. After seeing the holy place called Prakashananda, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Dwadashditya, where from there he went to Keshi Tirtha. And when he saw the place where the rasa dance had taken place, he immediately lost consciousness due to ecstatic love. When the Lord regained his senses, he began to roll on the ground. He would sometimes laugh, cry, dance, and fall down. He would also chant very loudly. Being thus transcendently amused, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed that day happily at Keshi Tirtha. In the evening, he returned to Akrura Tirtha, where he took his meal. The next morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Vrindavan and took his bath at Chiragat. He then went to Tetuli Tala, where he took rest. The tamarind tree named Tetuli Tala was very old, having been there since time of Lord Krishna's pastimes. Beneath the tree was a very shiny platform. Since the river Yamuna flowed near the Tetuli, a very cool breeze blew there. While the Lord saw the beauty of Vrindavan and the water of the river Yamuna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to sit beneath the old tamarind tree and chant the holy name of the Lord. At noon he would return to Akrura Tirtha and take lunch. All the people who lived near Akrura Tirtha came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and due to large crowds the Lord could not peacefully chant the holy name. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to Vrindavan and sit in a solitary place where he would chant the holy name until noon. In the afternoon, people were able to speak to him. The Lord told everyone the importance of the chanting the holy name. During this time, a Vaishnav named Krishnadas came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was a householder belonging to the Kshatriya caste, and his house was located on the other side of the Yamuna. After bathing at Keshi Tirtha, Krishnadas went toward Kaliyada Daha and suddenly saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sitting at Amli Tala, Tintuli Tala. Upon seeing the Lord's personal beauty and ecstatic love, Krishnadas was very much astonished. Out of ecstatic love, he offered his respectful obeisances unto the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Krishnadas, "Who are you? Where is your home?" Krishnadas replied, "I am a most fallen householder. I belong to the Rajputa caste and my home is just on the other side of the river Yamuna. But I wish to be a servant of a Vaishnav. Today I have had a dream, and according to that dream I have come here to found you." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then bestowed upon Krishnadas his causeless mercy by embracing him. Krishnadas became mad with ecstatic love and began to dance and to chant the holy name of Hari. Krishnadas returned to Caritamrta with the Lord, and remnants of the Lord's food were given to him. The next morning, Krishnadas went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan and carried his water pot. Krishnadas thus left his home, his wife, home and children in order to remain with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everywhere the Lord went, all the people said, "Krishna has again manifested at Vrindavan." One morning, many people came to Caritamrta, and as they came from Vrindavan, they made a tumultuous sound. Upon seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the people offered respects at his lotus feet. The Lord then asked them, where are you all coming from?" The people replied, "Krishna has again manifested himself on the waters of Kaliya lake, and he dances on the hoods of the serpent Kaliya, and the jewels of those hoods are blazing." Everyone has seen Lord Krishna himself, and there is no doubt about it. Hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to laugh. He even said, "Everything is correct." For 3 successive nights, people went to Kaliyadaha to see Krishna, and everyone returned, saying, "Now we have seen Krishna himself." Everyone came before Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, "Now we have directly seen Lord Krishna." And thus, by the mercy of the Goddess of Learning, we were made to speak the truth. When the people saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they actually saw Krishna. But because they were following their own imperfect knowledge, they accepted the wrong thing as Krishna. At that time, Balabhadra Bhattacharya placed a request at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, "Please give me permission to go see Lord Krishna directly." When Balabhadra Bhattacharya asked to see Krishna at Kaliyadaha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mercifully slapped him, saying, "You are a learned scholar, but you have become a fool, being influenced by the statements of other fools. Why would Krishna appear in the age of Kali? Foolish people who are mistaken are simply causing agitation and making a tumult. Do not become mad. Simply sit down here, and tomorrow night we will go see Krishna." The next morning, some respectable gentlemen came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord asked them, "Have you seen Krishna?" These respectable gentlemen replied, "At night, in Kaliya lake, a fisherman lights a torch in his boat and catches many fish. From a distance, people mistakenly think that they are seeing Krishna dancing on the body of the Kaliya serpent. These fools think that the boat is the Kaliya serpent, and the torchlight the jewels on his hoods. People also mistake the fisherman for Krishna. Actually, Lord Krishna has returned to Vrindavan. That is the truth. It is also true that people have seen him, but they are seeing Krishna as their mistake. It is like considering a dry tree to be a person. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then asked them, "Where have you seen Krishna directly?" The people replied, "You are a sannyasi, a renunciate, therefore you are a moving Narayana, Jangama Narayana." The people then said, "You have appeared in Vrindavan as an incarnation of Krishna. Just by seeing you, everyone is now liberated." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately exclaimed, "Vishnu, Vishnu, do not call me the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A jiva cannot become Krishna at any time. Do not even say such a thing. A sannyasi in the renounced order is certainly part and parcel of the complete whole, just as the shining molecular particle, the sunshine, is part and parcel of the sun itself. Krishna is like the sun, full of 6 opulences, but the living entity is not a fragment of his complete whole. A living entity and the absolute personality of Godhead are never to be considered equal. just as a fragmental spark can never be considered the original flame. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, is always full of transcendental bliss and is accompanied by his potencies known as Hladini and Samvid. The conditioned soul, however, is always covered by ignorance and embarrassed by the threefold miseries of life. Thus he is a treasure house of all kinds of tribulations. A foolish person who says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the same as a living entity is an atheist, and he becomes subject to punishment by the superintendent of death, Yamaraj. A person who considers the demigods like Brahma and Shiva to be like on equal level with Narayana is to be considered an offender or a pashandi. After Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu explained the difference between an ordinary living being and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, people said, "No one considers you an ordinary human being. You are like Krishna in every respect, in both bodily features and characteristics." By your bodily features we can see that you are none other than the son of Nanda Maharaj. Although the golden luster of your body has covered your original complexion. As the aroma of deer musk cannot be concealed by wrapping it in a cloth, your characteristics as the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be concealed by any means. Indeed, your characteristics are uncommon and beyond the imagination of an ordinary living being. Simply by seeing you, the entire universe becomes mad with ecstatic love for Krishna. If they see you just once, even women, children, old men, meat-eaters, and members of the lowest caste immediately chant the holy name of Krishna, dance like madmen, and become spiritual masters capable of delivering the whole world. Apart from seeing you, whoever listens to your holy name is made mad with ecstatic love for Krishna, and was able to deliver the three worlds. Simply by hearing your holy name, dog-eaters become holy saints. Your uncommon potencies cannot be described in words. To say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face, even a person born in a family of dog-eaters becomes immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, and even remembers him. These glories of yours are only marginal. Originally, you are the son of Maharaj Nanda. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then bestowed his causeless mercy upon all the people there, and everyone became ecstatic with love of God. Finally, they all returned to their homes. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu returned for some days in a Tirtha. He delivered everyone there, and simply by distributing the holy name of Krishna in ecstatic love for the Lord. The Brahmana disciple of Madhavendra Puri went from the house to house in Mathura and inspired other Brahmanas to invite Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to their homes. Thus, all the respectable people of Mathura, headed by the Brahmanas, came to the Balabhadra Bhattacharya and extended invitations to the Lord. In one day, 10 or 20 invitations were received, but Balabhadra Bhattacharya would only accept one of them. Since not everyone got an opportunity to offer invitations to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu personally, those who did not requested the Sandhya to ask the Lord to accept their invitations. The Brahmanas from different places such as Kanyakubuja and South India were all strict followers of Vedic religion, offered invitations to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu with great humility. In the morning they would come to a Tirtha and cook food. After offering it to the Shalagram Shila, they offered it to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One day, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu sat at the bathing ghat of Tirtha and thought the following thoughts. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu thought, at this bathing place Akrura saw Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, and all the inhabitants of Braj saw Goloka Vrindavan. While considering how Akrura remained within the water, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu immediately jumped and stayed under the water for some time. When Krishnadas saw that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was drowning, he cried and shouted very loudly, "Balabhabhatacharya!" immediately came and pulled out the Lord. After this, Balabhabhatacharya took the Sanodya Brahmana to a secluded place and consulted with him. Balabhabhatacharya said, "Since I was present today, it was possible for me to pull the Lord up. But if he starts to drown at Vrindavan, who will help him? Now there is a crowd of people here, and these invitations are causing much disturbance. In addition, the Lord is always ecstatic and emotional. I do not find the situation here very good. It would be good if we could get Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu out of Vrindavan. This is my final conclusion." The Sanodya Brahmana said, "Let us take him to Prayag and go along the banks of the Ganges. It will be very pleasurable to go that way." After going to the holy place named Sorora Chetra and bathing in the Ganges, let us take Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu that way and go. It is now the beginning of the month of Magha. If we go to Prayag at this time, we shall have an opportunity to bathe for a few days during Makara Sankranti. The Sanodya Brahmana continued, "Kindly submit to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu the unhappiness you are feeling within yourself. Then propose that we all go to Prayag on the full moon day of the month of Magh." Tell the Lord of the happiness you will feel in traveling via the banks of the Ganges. Balabhabhatacharya therefore submitted this prayer to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Balabhabhatacharya told the Lord, "I can no longer tolerate the disturbance of the crowd. People are coming one after another to offer invitations. Early in the morning people come here, and not seeing you present, they simply tax my brain. I will be very happy if we all leave and take the path by the banks of the Ganges. Then we can have the great opportunity of bathing in the Ganges at Prayag during Makara Sankranti. My mind has become very much agitated. I cannot bear this anxiety. Now everything rests on the permission of your lordship. I will accept whatever you want to do." Although Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had no desire to leave Vrindavan, he began to speak sweet words just to fulfill the desires of his devotees. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You have brought me here to show me Vrindavan. I am very much Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have brought me here to show me Vrindavan. I am very much indebted to you. I shall not be able to repay this debt. Whatever you desire, I must do. Wherever you take me, I shall go." The next morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up early. After taking his bath, he became ecstatic with love, knowing that he had to leave Vrindavan. Although the Lord did not exhibit any external symptoms, his mind was filled with ecstatic love. After that time, Balabhabhatacharya said, "Let us go to Mahavan." Saying this, Balabhabhatacharya made Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sit.
И, воздев руки, стал танцевать в экстазе любви. Когда Господь Чайтанья, охваченный экстазом любви к Богу, громко закричал,
Sit aboard the boat. After they crossed the river, he took the Lord with him. Both Rajaputta Krishnadas and the Sanodya Brahmana knew the path along the Ganges bank very well. While walking, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding that the others were fatigued, took them all beneath a tree and sat down. There were many cows grazing near that tree, and the Lord was very pleased to see them. Suddenly, a cowherd boy flew.
Тогда все солдаты приблизились к Господу, поклонились его лотосным стопам и сказали: эти четверо разбойники, эти негодяи опоили тебя дхутурой, сделав так, что ты лишился рассудка, они ограбили тебя.
Suddenly, a cowherd boy blew on his flute, and immediately the
Это
Lord
никакие
was.
не разбойники, а мои спутники. А поскольку я саньяси и живу подаянием, у меня ничего нет. Я страдаю эпилепсией, и потому иногда теряю сознание. А эти четверо по доброте своей взяли на себя
While the
заботу.
Lord was unconscious, 10 cavalry soldiers belonging to the Muslim Patana artillery rode up and dismounted. Seeing the Lord unconscious, the soldiers thought this sannyasi must have possessed a large quantity of gold. These 4 rogues here must have taken away the sannyasi's riches after killing him by making him the poisoned datura. Thinking this, the Patana soldiers arrested the 4 persons and decided to kill them. Because of this, the 2 Bengalis began to tremble. The devotee Krishnadas, who belonged to the Rajaputta race, was very fearless. The Sanodya Brahmana was also very fearless, and he spoke very bravely. The Brahmana said, "You Patana soldiers are all under the protection of your king. Let us go to your commander and get his decision. This sannyasi is my spiritual master, and I am from Mathura. I am a Brahmana, and I know many people who are in the loving service of the Muslim king. This sannyasi sometimes falls unconscious due to the influence of the disease. Please sit down here, and you will see that he will very soon regain consciousness and is
трансцендентное тело высшей природы. Господь вечен, вездесущ и всеведущ. Он абсолютная истина, источник всего сущего. Он причина творения, сохранения и разрушения Вселенной. Он изначальное прибежище всех грубых и тонких.
This sannyasi sometimes falls unconscious due to the influence of the disease. Please sit down here, and you will see that he will very soon regain consciousness and his normal condition. Sit down again, and sit down here for a while and keep us all under arrest. When the sannyasi regains his senses, you can question him. Then, if you like, you can kill us all. The Patana soldiers said, "You are all rogues. One of you belongs to the western lands and to the district of Mathura, and the other 2, who are trembling, belong to Bengal." Rajaputta Krishnadas said, "I have my home here, and I have about 200 Turkish soldiers and about 100 cannons. If I call loudly, they will come immediately to kill you and plunder your homes and saddles. The Bengali pilgrims are not rogues. You are rogues, and you want to kill the pilgrims and plunder them." Upon hearing this challenge, the Patana soldiers became hesitant, and then suddenly Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regained consciousness. Coming to his senses, the Lord very loudly began chanting the holy name Hari Hari. The Lord raised his arms upwards and began to dance in ecstatic love. When the Lord shouted very loudly in ecstatic love, it appeared to the Muslim soldiers that their hearts were struck by thunderbolts. Seized by fear, all the Patana soldiers immediately released their 4 persons. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not see his personal associates arrested. At that time, Balabhadra Bhattacharya went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and made him sit down. Seeing the Muslim soldiers, the Lord regained his normal senses. All the Muslim soldiers then came before the Lord, worshipped his lotus feet, and said, "Here are 4 rogues. These rogues have made you take datura. Having made you mad, they have taken all your possessions." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "These are not rogues. They are my associates. Being a sannyasi beggar, I do not possess anything. Due to epilepsy, I sometimes fall unconscious. Out of their mercy, these 4 men are able to maintain me among the Muslims." Among the Muslims was a grave person who was wearing a black dress. People called him a saintly person. The heart of that saintly person softened upon seeing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted to talk to him and establish impersonal Brahman on the basis of his own scripture, the Quran. When the person tried to establish the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth on the basis of the Quran, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu refuted his arguments. Whatever arguments he put forward, the Lord refuted them all. Finally, the person became stunned and could not speak. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, the Quran certainly establishes impersonalism, but at the end it refutes that impersonalism and establishes the personal God.
Они все начали повторять имя Кришны, и их охватил экстаз любви к Богу. Так Шри Чайтанья Махапрабху лично дал посвящение праведному мусульманину, который при этом получил новое имя Рамадас.
Quran accepts the ultimate fact that ultimately there is only one God. He is the body, he is full of opulence, and his body and complexion is blackish. According to the Quran, the Lord has a supreme, blissful, transcendental body, and he is the absolute truth, the all-pervading, omniscient, and eternal being. He is the origin of everything. Creation, maintenance, and dissolution come from him. He is the original shelter of all gross and subtle cosmic manifestations. The Lord is the supreme truth, worshipable by everyone. By engaging in his devotional service, the living entity is relieved from material existence. No conditioned soul can get out of material bondage without serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Love at his lotus feet is the ultimate goal of life. The happiness of liberation, whereby one merges into the Lord's existence, cannot even be compared with a fragment of the bliss attained by the service on the lotus feet. In the Quran, there are descriptions of fruitive activities, speculative knowledge, and mystic power, and union with the Supreme. But ultimately, all is refuted, and ultimately the Lord's personal feature comes with his devotional service. The scholars of the Quran are not very advanced in knowledge, although there are many methods prescribed. They do not know that the ultimate conclusion should be considered the most powerful. Seeing your own Quran and deliberating what is written there, what is your conclusion? The saintly Muslim replied, all that you have said is true. This has certainly been written in the Quran, but our scholars can neither understand nor accept it. Usually they describe the Lord's impersonal aspect, but they hardly know that the Lord's personal feature is worshipable. They are undoubtedly lacking in this knowledge. Since you are the very same Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, now, after seeing you, my tongue is chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and the false prestige I felt now is now gone. Saying this, the saintly Muslim fell at the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and requested him to speak of life's ultimate goal, the process by which it could be obtained. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, Please get up. You have chanted the holy name of Krishna, therefore your sinful reactions have accrued. The sinful reactions you have accrued for many millions of lives are now gone. You are now pure. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then told all the Muslims there, chant the holy name of Krishna, chant the holy name of Krishna. They all began to chant, and they were overwhelmed by ecstatic love. In this way, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu directly initiated the saintly Muslim by advising him to chant the holy name of Krishna. The Muslim's name was changed to Ram Das. Another Patana Muslim presented there was named Vijul Khan. Vijuli Khan was very young, and he was the son of a king. All the other Muslims, or Patanas, headed by Ram Das, were his servants. Vijuli Khan also fell down at the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord placed his foot on his head. After bestowing his mercy upon them in this way, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu left. All those Patana Muslims then became Medicans. Later, these very Pashtunas became celebrated, and the Patanas, Vaishnavas, they toured all over they toured all over the country and chanted the glories and activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Я, Кришнадас, рассказываю Шри Чайтанья Чаритамриту. Конец 18 главы.
Vijula Khan became greatly advanced devotee, and his importance was celebrated at every holy place of pilgrimage. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes. Coming to the western part of India, he bestowed good fortune upon the Yavanas and Mlechas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next went to the holy place of pilgrimage called Sora Chetra. He took his bath in the Ganges there and started for Prayag. And along the banks of the Ganges, at the Sora Chetra, the Lord requested the Sanodya Brahmana and Rajapati Krishnadas to return home, but with folded hands they began to speak as follows. They prayed, "Let us go to Prayag with you. If we do not go, then when shall we again get the association of your lotus feet?" This country is mainly occupied by Muslims. At any place, someone can create a disturbance, and although your companion Balabhadra Bhattacharya is a learned scholar, he does not know how to speak the local language. Hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted their proposal by smiling mildly. Thus, the two persons continued to accompany him. Whoever got to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would feel himself overwhelmed with ecstatic love and would begin to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Whoever met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became a Vaishnav, and whoever met that Vaishnav also became a Vaishnav. In this way, all the towns and villages became Vaishnav one after the other. Just as the Lord inundated South India on his tour there, he also inundated the western part of the country with love of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally arrived at Prayag for 10 successive days, bathed in the confluence of the rivers Yamuna and the Ganges during the festival of Makara Sankranti, Magha Mela. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's visit to Vrindavan and his activities there are unlimited. Even Lord Shesha, who has thousands of hoods, cannot reach the end of his activities. What ordinary living being can describe the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? I have only indicated the general direction in the form of a summary. The pastimes and methods of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are uncommon. Unfortunate is he who cannot believe even after hearing these things. From beginning to end, the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are uncommon. Just to hear them with faith and accept them as true and correct. Whoever argues about this is a great fool. He intentionally and personally brings a thunderbolt down upon his head. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are an ocean of nectar. Even a drop of this ocean can inundate the whole world with transcendental bliss. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrta following in their footsteps. Thus, in the 18th chapter of the Madhya Leela, entitled "The Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visits Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's visit to Sri Vrindavan."
Это дом всех живых существ, и Кришна хозяин этого дома.
This world, the spiritual world is the home of all living entities. And therefore, when Lord Chaitanya went to Vrindavan, he felt all these different emotions. Vrindavan is the goal that should be with every person. That knowledge, wisdom, strength. We should make this our goal. We should make a strategy to get to Vrindavan. It's our luck that Vrindavan is now manifested on this world, where Krishna came and it's still there. Govardhan has already become small. There's a curse on Govardhan that every day he becomes smaller by one mustard seed.
Раньше, насколько я помню, он был
Govardhan used to be very big.
лишний.
During Krishna's time, the height of Govardhan was
По-моему, в 60 йоджин или в 90 йоджин. 60, по-моему, высотой, в 90.
60 yojanas.
Вот такое было. Вот за вот эти.
It was very, very big. 5
опускался, и сейчас
5 years by seed, it's come down, and now it's only about 25 meters high is the highest.
Поэтому, если вдруг кому-то удастся,
Therefore, if somebody
предоставится такая возможность, обязательно
gets the chance to go they should go to Vrindavan.
Спасибо всем.
Thank you everyone for the reading. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to meet again soon. I wish everyone a good mood, and see you soon.